Make it. Yeah. We're gonna make it.
Good afternoon, and I hope you're enjoying the MKE Business Now Entrepreneurship Summit. Our upcoming workshop is called Chaos and Creativity, Marketing Through Mayhem. And this workshop will be done by a person I consider to be a friend. Since we began the Entrepreneurship Summit 9 years ago, she has always been a helpmate and a helper for the summit, and always been willing to give her advice on branding and marketing. So you'll have a special treat today, hearing from Ebony Ssali, the brand and creative director of Ssali Media Group. Hope you enjoy the workshop.
And I am Ebony Ssali. I am the brand and creative director at Ssali Media Group. We create brands and marketing and media for cities and municipalities, but one of my absolute loves is to work with entrepreneurs and startups. I think there is something so magical about creation and starting something fresh. So welcome. I'm glad that you're here today and taking time out to either start up your business or make it stronger and more sustainable. So throughout this workshop, I hope that you will take away some actionable, practical knowledge that you can utilize to start creating additional revenue for your business today. This workshop title is really near and dear to my heart because right now we're all operating in this space of trying to be creative in some of the most chaotic times that at least my generation, the generation before mine, has seen. So how are you able to be creative? There will be some steps that you can take to harness what we're going through right now and putting that into practice. So first and foremost, we made it. We made it from 2020 and some of the biggest losses from a emotional standpoint, from a psychological standpoint. Like, let's first off acknowledge that we made it. And entrepreneurs that are here on the webinar, you know that means you had to make some difficult choices, whether that's scaling back your audience, scaling back your projections for finance, whether that was laying off staff, and definitely working remotely created some challenges. If you're in the restaurant and food service business, pivoting to curbside. If you're in the hospitality and services, trying to figure out how still to promote yourself and create new opportunities when the world is actually falling apart. So let's just take a moment to acknowledge that we made it. And with that energy, we move forward into what does that mean? How do we take this chaos that we're facing and move into a space where we can be more creative? I saw this quote online, loved it, and decided to add it to my own personal repertoire of quotes that kind of push me when I may be feeling a little more slow to start than usual. Chaos isn't a pit, it's a ladder. And if you really look back through history, some of the world's biggest millionaires, billionaires have been made during times where they've had to shift their mindset and had to shift the way they think about how they do business, shift the way they service their audience. And so this is a critical time. So I challenge you to think about what you're doing in your business as not, I should stop, I should, pack it all up and do something else with my life, but how can I take this and make it a ladder into the next phase of my life? What I know for absolute sure right now, and have known for the past 11 months, is that channels are loud and people are talking and everyone is speaking loudly. And so if you're like me, you know the word unprecedented, and we're in this together, and hashtag alone together. These are all campaigns that people have come out with and creative teams have come out with that we hear over and over and over and over again. But the challenge is, how do we get our message out when everyone is talking and everyone is saying the same thing? What I caution against, and I'm positive that after we've been at this for a bit, we should all be collectively a little better at this, but saying that we're in it together, saying that we're in unprecedented times, through these tough times, using that same copy is a little bit dated. And so what I've put together is actually a clip online that showcases all of these commercials put back to back. So I challenge you to take a look at the graphic on the lower left that shows the company that has created this ad. So let's take a look.
When we first opened our doors.
Since 1926.
Since 1978.
For 60 years.
For 75 years.
For over 80 years.
In 90 years.
Over 100 years.
Nationwide has been on your side.
Restaurants have always been there for you.
Nissan has been with you through thick and thin.
We will do what we've always done.
Take care of people.
We're people.
People.
People. People.
People.
People and family.
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 Family. Family.
Family.
Family.
Family.
Families. Families. Families.
Even now. Especially now.
Especially now.
Right now.
Now more than ever.
More than ever.
Today, more than ever.
Today, more than ever.
In times like this.
At times like these.
During these difficult times.
In these troubled times.
Challenging times.
Trying times.
In these times of uncertainty.
During this time of great uncertainty.
During these uncertain times.
During these uncertain times.
In uncertain times.
In uncertain times.
Uncertain times.
Unprecedented times.
Unprecedented times.
Unprecedented times.
This unprecedented moment in our history.
It's time of social distancing.
While things have slowed down.
As we turn more inside.
While the doors may be closed.
While the distance between us has gotten bigger.
The more we stay apart,
we still find ways to stay close, even when we're apart.
Even if we can't stand closer than 6 feet.
We can all stay connected to work, school, and most importantly, to each other.
There's still ways to touch each other.
All without leaving the comfort and safety of your home.
Without leaving the safety of your home.
From home.
Home. Your home.
At home. Home.
Home.
Home. Home. Home. Home.
Home. Home. That's the key.
Buick and GMC are here to help.
Con Edison is here to help.
Here to help.
Our teams are here.
We are here.
We're here.
We're here.
Here for you.
Here for you.
We're here for you.
We're here for you.
We are here for you.
We're here for you.
We are here for you.
we'll be here for you.
Runnings is here for you.
We're still here for you.
We're with you. We're part of your community.
So you can trust us.
You can count on us.
And we'll get through this. Together.
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 And together.
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 And so as you can see, it is challenging to be in the marketing space right now because everyone, again, the noise of saying the exact same thing. Over 88% of people that create events are saying that the events that have occurred in 2020 have made it more challenging to plan upcoming events and campaigns. I challenge and push back and say that just causes us to think a little bit differently about what it is that we do. How many times have you had the global opportunity to step back and say, what am I doing? How am I doing it? Is this the best way to reach my market? Is this what they're asking for versus what's easiest for me, or versus what is quickest and fastest for me as the business owner? So I think for the entire world to pause for a second and think about how can we make things better? That's the collective question. So in our 2021 campaigns, we should be looking at customer first, ease of use, and how to make that very profitable. Right now, Black and brown creators are accounting for $1.8 trillion, and that's only expected to go up by 2023. In order to harness that, we have to think about our why, right? What is our purpose for doing what it is that we do? Do you have a mission statement? Do you operate by that mission statement? Just internally, one of my goals as a branding firm is to always create originality. My logo stands for the ability to see the entire brandscape, not just one component of it. So really double down on what it is you do, why you do it, what gets you out of bed every day, even if it's only to go to the living room or the den. But $1.8 trillion is no small number and is nothing to laugh at. You have to move forward as a small business now more than ever with a brand strategy. What are you trying to accomplish? 2 or 3 goals throughout the course of the rest of this year are what you need to move forward. Then, according to that strategy, where your customers are, what time of day your customers are online. And a lot of that content can be found just by creating surveys. So you can do SurveyMonkey, you can do MailChimp, you can send out from Google Forms. Just get data so that you know what your customers are actually asking for versus what you think they should be. From that point, you should only be leveraging the channels that work for your brand. There are, and we'll talk about this in just a bit, there are over 70 social media channels. You cannot do all of them well, and your audiences don't exist in all of those. So pick 3 or 4 that your audience shows up in consistently and target those social media channels so that you can build some leverage there and build your business. One study, because I love data and think that you really shouldn't move as a small business owner without data. You can go with your gut for some things, but for the major decisions on how you build your strategy, on where you should be channel-wise, it should all be built on data. So this particular graphic talks about during the pandemic, the last 6 months, where Black and brown folks are spending their money. And so I want to leave this up for just a second so that if you create anything in the clothing and shoe space, in the health and beauty space, if you're in the grocery and fast food space, if you're in drugs and remedies, if you're in content movie creation, film festivals, movie festivals, playhouses, if you're in appliances, beer, wine, and liquor. So if you've got a custom wine brand that you're working with, look at how much is being spent in those categories. So how can you be creative if you're an entrepreneur in one of these categories when you're competing against the Googles and the Apples that are saying, you know, we're in this together? You're competing with Toyota and Honda dealerships that are saying we're all in this together, but come and buy a car today. It makes you give some thought to how you can be effective. So let's get into that, being effective. So if you have a packaged good or you have an item that's sold at retail, one thing that you may want to think about is your serving size or your package size per unit. For example, if you sell candies, can you step down the amount that you supply per package and keep your cost per unit, drop that down, but keep your price pretty much the same for a smaller unit? So give some thought to, if you sell 1 ounce, what happens when you drop that size down to ½ an ounce and you reduce your price maybe 20–30%, but you're actually selling and making more per unit? You may find that during a pandemic, money is tight. your consumers aren't buying as much as they would have in the past, it may be more prudent for you to reduce your size, reduce your cost, and reduce your price slightly so that you can make more per unit. If you're in the services-based industry and you're selling your time, you're selling your creativity, you're selling your ideas and mind per hour, you may want to consider what it looks like dropping your time per unit down to half an hour. What happens when your consultations become half an hour? You can find out how intense your services will be for a customer. You can qualify them, and you may be able to put them into your sales pipeline a little bit quicker. So give some thought to just what you're selling and how you can reimagine and repackage the item that you're selling. When it comes to your partners, your suppliers, the people that assist you to getting your goods and services out onto the shelf or out into the marketplace, there may be some more favorable terms that you can negotiate now that you weren't able to do a year ago or a little over 10 months ago. Think about partnering with shipping. For example, if your packages come out of California with another vendor that you know and work with, if you two combine your packages and your shipping, you can actually save on getting those pallets from California to Milwaukee. If you are in the, I call them branded boxes. So if you have apparel, if you have beauty items that ship in a custom branded box, you may consider collaborations with other brands. So if you sell foundation, you may want to look at companies that provide hair supplies or nail supplies or makeup. When you put those things together, your cost per unit will decrease, meaning that your profits increase. So you may find that you can serve a whole new market. You may find that you get customers and clientele, and you can share sales lists that you wouldn't have been able to do before. So give some serious thought to how you can collaborate and make some lifelong partnerships. Podcast. If you have not been under a rock for the past 5 years, then you know how hot podcasts are. So take the opportunity now that African Americans and Hispanic Americans are at home in record numbers. They're using their mobile devices. I think it's about 52% are using their mobile devices more than 5 hours a day, some up to 9 hours a day. Take the opportunity to create content, partner with collaborators that already exist in the marketplace, and speak your brand, be your brand, share your creativity in spaces that aren't TV, aren't radio. Take a look at podcasts. I know Milwaukee has an amazing podcast scene. So if you just Google Milwaukee podcasts, you'll get a ton of resources that come up. Reach out to them. Share your product, share your service, have your elevator pitch ready to go, and really think about how your brand benefits those podcast owners and podcast creators. So that in and of itself, those three things, looking at your serving size or package size, looking at how your shipping can provide more favorable terms for yourself and for your customer, looking at potential moments of collaboration with other brands, and then sharing that messaging consistently across channels with podcasts is an amazing way to grow your business from home, inside, or from a remote location with a remote team. So really give some thought to that. And then finally, think about ways that your customer can pay. Ultimately, you don't have a sale until the customer rings out a digital shopping cart, rings out curbside. So you need to be giving thought to, are you offering limited terms? Are you providing them the opportunity to pay you in 30 days, in 60 days? I know right now there's like Afterpay. So you can look into that as a provider if you're selling merchandise. Afterpay can allow your customers to break down their payments into multiple payments. There's Klarma, I believe is how you pronounce it, is another one where, again, you may be selling a $300 handbag. That $300 can then be broken down over 4 payments, which may give your customer a little more leeway, an opportunity to buy more in a place where they might not usually be able to do that. I'm always promoting PayPal. Facebook Marketplace, Square is another great one. Shopify, Big Commerce. All of those allow you space to make terms favorable for your customer to pay you. Again, I love business. I love business owners. I love the concept of startup, but you must make sure that you're able to make revenue from the things that you're doing and that you're providing an easy channel for your customer to be able to do that and pay you. And then finally, as we wrap up, if you've heard me speak on a webinar, if you've checked out any of my content, you know how big I am on authenticity, absorbing who you are and sharing that in all its beauty and glory. You cannot be anyone but yourself. I know there's a saying that's fake it till you make it. I personally think that's trash. I think when you acknowledge the things that you may have weakness in, you can then program around those. You can build a team for the people that do those things better. You acknowledge your weakness, and I think there's strength in that. If you can identify the things you don't do well as a business, you can either decide to do better in that or drop that as a service line. When I first started out in branding, I tried to work with everybody and I wanted to be a part of what everyone was doing. And I wanted to just be in the mix, so to speak. What I found is that my business does really well with people who love to create something new, something original. Cookie cutter and template is not something that my firm does well. So I've identified that and I found strength in that story. If you know me personally or somewhat professionally, you know that I am a self-professed nerd. I love data. I love knowledge. I love that. And I've been able to turn that into strength for my clients. They know that when they partner with me, when they work with me, they're getting originality and they're getting intentionality and they're getting someone who understands markets and brands and how to marry the two. So whatever that thing is that you maybe were chastised about early on in your startup game, that thing that just gnaws at you, that is a part of your story. And I would urge you strongly to find strength in that, operate in the authenticity that's behind that so you can continue to grow. When you think of your brand and you think of your story and you think of your why, give thought to 3 ways that you can incorporate that story into your brand. So that as you're sharing it on podcasts, as you're connecting with new customers, especially now when people are looking for Black and brown creators and they're looking to spend money in those markets, give some thought to your story in how can you create a visual story. So if you were to have to tell your story in 10 slides, what would each of those slides showcase? What would it show? So think about your brand from a visual standpoint. Everybody's got a cell phone, and that means you have a high quality camera in your pocket. So you should have multiple photos of your work, multiple photos of your products, and representative photos of your services. If you don't, I'll drop in the notes Pixels, P-E-X-E-L-S. Pixels.com has some amazing free stock photography, and you can find what you need there to, again, enhance your brand. Second piece is tactile. How does your brand feel? How does it What are the touch points? If you can touch it, is it smooth? Is it rough? Is it brittle? Is it fragile? All of those things play into your brand. For example, I'll grab a candle off of my desk here. How does the top feel? This has got like a cool wooden top to it. Glass is blown glass, and inside the smell, am I able to smell it inside the store? Is it packaged where I can't give a smell to it? All of that plays a role in how your brand feels, and that may garner more revenue at the checkout counter. How you merchandise it, the way you set your photo shoots, give thought to all of that and create with intention behind your brand. Last but not least is the feel, the heart feel. How do you want people to leave your brand? What's the experience that people have with your brand? How do you play to the heart of your customer? All that rolled together is going to power your brand and help like cloud out that noise of the market right now. So if you think back to the commercials that I showed you before, if you can get to the way your brand looks, if you can get to the feeling that your brand has when a customer touches it, and when you can get to the heartstrings, you can cut through the sameness of those commercials. Again, I mentioned earlier, there are 70 social media sites and you cannot do them well. All of them, you can't do them all well. So pick 3, 4, maximum 5 or 6 and target your everything into those markets. I know that there's some brand new ones that have just come out in the last year or so and they're very buzzy, but think about, is your customer there? I know that owners and founders in the tech space, leaders and directors in cities and that work with place branding, most of them are not on Snapchat. So you know what? My business is not on Snapchat. Most of those leaders, directors are not or are no longer on Facebook. So I personally don't spend a ton of time there because the revenue generation doesn't exist there for me. So take this time now that the world is not moving as fast as it used to, and really think about where your customer is and if it makes sense for you to be on those platforms. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this idea of authenticity. One of the creative commercials that has really stood out in my mind over the past 11 months and really stands in a category of its own has been Dove. About 2 months into the pandemic, healthcare workers were the highlight of our days, and they still are. So thank you immensely, essential workers and medical healthcare teams. And Dove decided, Procter & Gamble decided to really showcase what real beauty looks like and what courage looks like. And so what they did was they took healthcare workers that had been working in the field for hours and hours and hours across multiple days, and their faces were really scarred from the PPE that they were wearing. The irony is that Dove is a beauty company, and so in showcasing these people with features that have scars on their face, one might think that those two are diametrically opposed, if you will. But the reality is that authenticity is what makes the beauty. So I want you to take a look at this final commercial from Dove, and then we'll talk about how you sharing your story in the ways that we've outlined can really marry the chaos in the world with your creativity. Thank you all for joining the webinar today. I truly appreciate you taking your time out of your day to be and share here in this space. I would like you to know that I am proud of you. Entrepreneurship is not easy. And like I say, these startup streets ain't for the faint of heart. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of persistence. It takes resilience. It takes patience. And so I am proud of you. Thank you for the opportunity to share. I'm adding my social media channels, my email. If you would like to reach out and put our heads together for some additional creativity, please don't hesitate. If you are starting a brand new business this year, congratulations on that. I've put together a small resource guide that's available on Amazon. Feel free to pick that up and get started. And listen, I hope you all have health. I hope that you are safe in the new year, and I pray that you all have amazingly fruitful season this year in your business. Take care, stay safe.
Make it, yeah, yeah. We're gonna make it.